What's going on, my planting people? I'm Lithius, this is Roots Ready. In today's video, we are going to be repotting one of my largest plants and also one of my oldest plants. It is none other than this bad boy. This is my Philodendron Imperial Red. Look at that, we're matching. It's got that lovely burgundy leaf. And this is one of the first plants that I bought when I started my plant collecting journey. I've had this for many, many years. And in fact, a lot of you may have come across my channel by seeing a care guide to this plant right here. This is one of my most popular videos on my channel. If you did come through that route, then here is an update on this plant. And I'm sad to say that it's not doing great. Let's talk about it. So this is my Imperial Red and it has seen better days. If you look at these leaves, they are brown and wilting. They have a lot of edema damage as well. So that's where the plant has too much water in its system, in its root system, and the cells essentially just burst. They erupt and it causes just unsightly damage to the leaves. So if you have a look at this leaf over here, you might think, is that a bit of variegation? It's not. That bottom half of that leaf is in fact dead and it just doesn't look great and it's not good on the plant. In fact, whenever I water this plant lately, it will start to ooze this like blood red water from its leaves. I'll be walking around like, did someone cut themselves or something? And I will notice that it's because I've just watered the plant. Edema damage means that the water is actually coming out from the leaves and is dripping onto the floor. And obviously this is a lovely deep red, or like a burgundy color. So that then mixes in with the water and it looks a lot like blood. Probably when you saw this plant last, it was in this pot, and this is coming on, what, 3 years, something like that at this point. So it's been in this pot for a very, very, very long time. This has always been one of my easiest plants to look after, not just philodendron. Just in general, it's been super, super easy. It's just the past couple of months, this past winter, in fact, that this plant has just not looked its best. And also you can see that, you know, the leaves went from being gigantic to our most recent leaf being teeny tiny, and just a couple of the ones that came before were also smaller as well. So my thinking is that it's not necessarily the cold. I think the cold contributed to it because in the winter, a lot of my plants suffer. I actually think it's something a lot more simple. I think it's very, very root bound in this pot. And this plant is growing in 100% leca. And it was doing amazing for a very long time. You can see where the watermark is here. I would always have it in suspended in some water in a little reservoir. Plants seem to enjoy that. Over the winter, I don't keep it in a reservoir. I water it generously, but I don't keep water in the base because I don't want the roots to get wet and cold, because that's a recipe for disaster. But for whatever reason, this year it hasn't worked out. So I think that it is probably severely, severely root bound. And when your plants are root bound and there's a watering issue, it's very easy for them to sort of be susceptible to root rot. So I think that's what it is. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to repot the plant into a much bigger planter. This is what my Mad Brag was in, my Inferior Magnificum Cross Regal. It was in here. Also suffered, had to do a emergency repot on that plant as well. But I'm going to put it in here. What I've done for the first time, because I've had this pot for a little while, I've actually drilled some holes in the side. I do have drainage holes on the bottom, but I had nothing on the side. I just want this to be a pot that can dry out a lot more. So I do have the planter here with the holes to help with that air circulation to the roots. Let's get into this. I think what I need to do now is find a way to empty out the leca without causing a complete mess. And I think the only way is if I kind of dump it out into this pot. So while supporting the plant, I am just gonna try to dump it out. I mean, I wasn't wrong. Check out the roots on that. There are so many roots. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give that a little shake. and remove as much of the lecker as possible, just like that. And then we can see what that root system looks like. I think there are definitely some dead roots in there, so I may have to give this a bit of a trim in the hopes that they revive, they come back. So yeah, I'll have a look. I'll investigate that properly in a second. So let's see what we're working with now with the roots. So I did notice that when I took the plant out of the pot, usually when there's lots and lots of root rot, you do tend to see these roots sort of fall off. So we do have some roots that are falling off, but for the most part, I can't really tell if it is root rot or if it isn't. I think there is quite a bit of root rot, so I will have to just sort of go in and cut off all of the roots that I think are a bit problematic, let's say. But I'm not sure. I don't want to damage roots for no reason. So for example, this root here is super dry and crispy, so I will cut that one off from the base. Was I right? Oh, there was still a little bit of life in that, actually. It's still a bit pink, so maybe I won't cut off as many roots. I may just leave it as is and pot it up, because certainly the plant is still growing, seeing as it's currently growing a new leaf, a whole brand new leaf. So, oh look, we have one dead root there. So I'm just going to investigate all of the roots as possible. What I'm also going to do is when I repot this plant, I'm going to try to pot it just a little bit deeper so that there's a bit more opportunities for some of the stem, the roots on the stem, the aerial roots to grow in. And then hopefully that can just help the plant re-establish itself. What I am also going to do is I'm going to try to just get rid of some of these lower leaves, because I don't think it will fit in this pot, because this is quite a tall planter. This other one here is so tall that the leaves won't have, you know, opportunity to sort of, they won't let the plant get nice and deep in the pot as I would like it to. So I may just have to get rid of some of these lower leaves and maybe just give the plant an opportunity to just re-establish itself, as I said. And also, what my thought process is here, if I cut off some of these bottom leaves, then the plant can sort of just focus on growing its roots and not having to sustain all of these larger leaves. So hopefully that's the right approach. Fingers crossed. Take off these leaves. I think this one as well, and then we'll leave it there. I won't go any more than that. Let's put this to the side for the time being. I've cut off a couple of leaves now. There's a lovely bouquet. And look at that thing ooze. Oh my goodness, it is literally, this is what I meant by dripping red. Like, look at that. Tell me that doesn't look like blood. It is insane. So that's all of the leaves cut off, and I've prepared the roots. The only thing left to do now is to give this old lecker that's in here, is to give it a bit of a clean. And the way that I do that is quite simple. I just get boiling hot water and I pour it over the lecker. And my thinking is any nasties that's in the soil, in the substrate, will just die. And then I just need to cool it off, make sure it's not too hot, so that when we repot the plant, it doesn't burn the roots. And then hopefully that will be a nice sanitized substrate for this plant to go into. And if there's anything in there that could cause any root rot, any fungal, any bacterial infection, that will sort it out straight away. The Imperial Red has been unpotted. We've cleaned out the lecker, so we've got some nice fresh lecker to reuse. The only thing left to do now is to repot it. So one of the first things I want to do is just sort of work out where the plant is going to sit in this pot. And well, it has to be somewhere around here, because that's kind of where the last leaf is, and that's about perfect for me, I think. So I'm now going to have to start repotting this plant, or refilling it with some pond that I've got over there. It's already been cleaned and everything. So I think that's it. I think that's all we've got to do. So I'm just going to leave the plant here. For the life of me, I cannot seem to find my little shovel thing, my green one. Anyway, I'm going to have to just make do and use this pot to shovel my pond in. Should work. So just like that, I'm going to backfill this thing up. That will do it, but the plant is still a little bit unstable. So I will have to put this bamboo stake back in. And I always tend to do it towards the side of the pots. And that's basically so I don't damage any of the roots in the center. And then I can sort of pull the plant towards the stake. And it usually works quite well. The only other thing I'm going to do, because I really want to encourage the roots around the stem to grow in, I will do that little trick of placing a plastic bottle around it like so. Just going to add just a little bit of pond around the sides. So this is what we've done so far. So we've backfilled that. There's lots of soil at the bottom there, so that there's lots of material at the bottom so that the roots can continue to grow down. I've added in this little plastic pot. This was a last minute decision. I wasn't planning to do this today, but because I had less pond than I wanted to cover up the roots just a little bit more, maybe about an inch or inch on two. I've put this in here just to encourage those roots, and once the root starts growing, I can then remove this at some point. Hopefully this summer I can remove that. But that's all. Check that out. So this is what we've managed to do today. We have repotted this into a nicer, bigger planter, and instead of the plant being up here where it usually is next to my Veitchii, I'm going to have it down here. So I'm going to have to make some room, remove these cuttings out of the way, and maybe put the plant in here somewhere close to my east facing window, and hopefully it will like it there and start to grow. So that's it. That's my task for today. That was the big one. I've been putting this off for a long time, just because the last couple of plants I've repotted, namely my Anthurium warwickrianum, my Queen Anthurium, repotted that. It didn't really like it, so I was a little bit nervous to repot anything else. Luckily, the plant in the root system wasn't as bad as I thought. I was really anticipating it being in a really, really bad state, but it wasn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the plant back in its maybe forever home. We'll see, depending on how quickly this plant grows. And I'll keep you guys posted on how it does. So this has been it. This is my Imperial Red, and this is the update that I'm sure some people have been waiting for. Not a great one, I must admit. I would have loved to come here and give you a really 5-star raving review about this plant, but unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. But that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep planting.